Welcome to Screen Junkies News. I'm Roth Cornet, and I am joined by this array of gentlemen who are going to bring some intelligence to all of us today. Mr. Dan Murrell,
Hello.
Spencer Gilbert, Joe Starr, welcome. It's a big day today for us who work on the internet because the FCC has voted to repeal net neutrality. What does that mean? Let's break it apart bit by bit. First, Dan, let's talk about what net neutrality actually is.
So basically what net neutrality is basically a set of rules that prohibits companies, organizations, corporations, really anybody from playing favorites or regulating what sites, how much traffic, and how fast traffic can flow to and from sites. It basically makes it so that every site on the internet is equal. No one can restrict access or slow down access to any particular site or service, and basically puts everything on the internet on an equal playing field. Everyone has access to the same internet speed. Every site has access to the same users. You really can't restrict access to anything. And when we say that they repeal net neutrality, it essentially means that they're making it okay for companies or anyone to really say, like, well, on my service, I'm going to block your access to this site, or I'm going to slow down the speed at which you can access a particular site or a particular service, and you could actually favor one site or service over another one if you so chose. So it's not necessarily the government saying that companies will do this. It is rolling back a regulation that's telling companies, like, you cannot do this.
Yeah, it's sort of opening a gate to, you can pay for our premium social media service and upload all the Facebook photos you want.
Right.
Yeah.
So what do we think that, first of all, let's talk about why we believe the vote went this way, and then what the implications are for consumers and for us sitting right here, potentially.
Well, why it went this way?
Yeah.
I mean, we live in hell world where the worst possible people are making decisions as fast as possible before they're run out of town, hopefully via guillotine. That said, yeah, just look at it's to go deeper than that. It's a mentality that says regulation, just by definition, is bad. Roll back all regulation. Another way to think about regulations are corporations don't like them, but for people, they're not regulations, they're protections. Yeah. These are things that are protecting us from, frankly, abuse by corporations. And then when you take something away like net neutrality, it you know, the free market, it doesn't have your best interest at heart in this case, because a company is responsible to shareholders, and they're responsible to stockholders or board members, and the government, as clunky and as cumbersome and occasionally overreaching as they are still responsible at the end of the day to citizens who have some measure of control. Your telecom company doesn't have that.
Yeah.
So you may pay, one potential consequence is you may pay more for a service like a Netflix, but there are others. Sure. And so let's talk about those as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, like right now, I get my internet service through Spectrum. Currently, under the current regulations, I guess until today, Spectrum basically can charge me whatever, $70 a month or whatever I don't know, I have to check. Whatever they charge me per month for internet, and for that, I get access to everything on the internet, Netflix, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, wherever I want to go. So when we talk about deregulating that, what that basically means is now Spectrum can, as a business decision, say, like, okay, you can pay me $70 a month for your internet, and that'll cover Google and Twitter. Or you can upgrade for $15, and you can have full access to Netflix and full speed. But if you pay for the lower tier, you can still get on Netflix, but you know, we're going to throttle it down to a certain speed, so you couldn't stream 4K. Now, if you want to stream 4K on Netflix, you can upgrade for $15 a month, and you can pay for the gold package, in which case we will now release that, and you can now access Netflix at full speed. But if you want to go on Facebook, that's going to be our social media package. That's an additional $10, or otherwise we're not going to allow you to access Facebook unless you upgrade. So it's basically saying, like, we're not taking away your options. We're just giving you choices on how much you want to pay for. But that in itself is taking away options for a lot of people.
Not only is it taking away options, but it's also preventing new companies and new services from competing, because you can't start the next Netflix. I mean, that's a bad example because they're already so huge, but you can't start the next bandwidth-intensive internet company when you need special favoritism from a telecom to even get started.
Yes, this will affect everyone that you guys watch. At some point, if you like Collider Movie Talk, if you love Red Letter Media, if you love watching Jeremy John's reviews, like all of that is going to get affected.
YouTube is not going to be at a if they decide to tier a network, this is the kind of thing why I think we're so fired up about it. If they decide to tier access, YouTube is probably not going to be on the cheapest tier.
No.
Google might be, or is something like that, but it'll be like, but pay us $10 extra a month if you want to watch YouTube, which is why I think we're so upset, because this affects our livelihood. This affects how we make money. This affects how our audience accesses our content, because if this net neutrality is allowed to be rolled back and these companies can do this, potentially now we're in a position where our audience, you guys, might not be able to see us anymore. Because when we launched Screen Junkies Plus almost 3 years ago, we got a lot of feedback from people saying, like, I would really love to be a subscriber, but I don't have the $5 a month that it costs. And I understand that a lot of our audiences, they're young, they're in high school, you're in college. A lot of you guys don't have that disposable income. You don't have access to it, or you're not in a position where you can spend that. And of course, not everyone can do that. This is going to adversely affect people that cannot afford premium internet services if that's what is being asked for. If you can't afford that $5 a month for Screen Junkies Plus, which I totally get, you're in a position now without net neutrality where your internet service provider could say, like, well, you now have to pay us $15 to watch YouTube.
Yeah.
And it is a slippery slope.
Also, because, speaking of slippery slope, it won't start that way. It won't go straight to, here's the gold package, here's the diamond, here's the bronze. It's going to do, hey, gamers, spend an extra $5 for a gamer boost. It's going to be incentives. Hey, sign up with X, Y, and Z, and you'll get this service for free. It'll be framed as positive until you look down and lo and behold, you need to pay $5 extra for every single website you use.
The companies like YouTube, Twitch, they're going to get hit eventually, in terms of subscribers and in terms of dealing with these larger internet companies. And none of these companies, and I'm not making a morality call on them because, again, they're companies, but none of them are going to put on Shining Knight's armor and be like, we're gonna take the hit for the people that have made our channel, all these Twitch gamers you guys love, all these YouTube channels. It's gonna punch down to them, whether it's paying for access, whether it's pay to play. If you like Nerd Crew, there's a good chance that Nerd Crew is gonna have to start shoveling out to YouTube to use their services, because that's how these companies are going to make up their ground, and that's not cool.
You like Nerd Crew because you've called them out twice now, so
I do, absolutely. I just want whether I know our audience is a wide array across the political spectrum, but what I want you guys to understand is, and I know you guys hate it when we talk about politics, but this is something where if you didn't vote for Trump in this administration, or if you did, the people that he has put in place are the ones that are going to push this forward. And whether or not you agree with everything else he says, this is going to screw up your free YouTube videos you get to watch. This is going to directly affect you. The reason I keep bringing up, Jeremy John's, Nerd Crew, these things, I just want you guys to understand that you need to call your reps, no matter what side of the political spectrum you're on. I wish it was a cooler social issue that everyone could stand up and rise up and suddenly realize they're all on the same side on. But if it's watching Jeremy John's videos, then great. Stand up, call your reps, and tell them they've got to oppose this, because this screws up the stuff that you like watching.
Well, so that's what I wanted us to get to next, which is, Joe, just to highlight what you're saying, yes, you might not get your YouTube videos. Additionally, there are further ramifications that are perhaps not going to happen, but the reason that the airwaves were deemed to be free to all in the first place, because that was how we got our information. If you had a radio, you needed to have the access to that radio. You didn't need to pay more just to have access to the information. This is how we communicate. This is how we get our information. If you're going to bog down and bottleneck things like the avenues to information,
the Disney merger, if you think that these things aren't directly, you know, connected to stuff like this in some way, shape, or form, you're naive.
And if you want to take this to the darkest place that it could possibly go, or one of the darkest places,
and we should, based on this year,
because
that's just how things are going. Let's say that you've got a provider like a Spectrum or a Verizon, or you know, one of your big telecommunications companies who has, let's say, an extremely liberal owner and CEO who makes the corporate decision without net neutrality. Like, you know what? I think that conservative media is a danger to my users. I don't think they should be reading Fox News. So you know what? I'm making, as a CEO, I am making the corporate decision that none of my users are going to be able to access any conservative media, any conservative sites, anything that does not have a distinctly liberal slant. I'm making that decision for my consumers, for the good of the country. That is 100% legal without net neutrality. That is not, should not, cannot be legal for people of any political ideology, ideology.
Whether you're reading Teen Vogue or 4chan.
Neither side
or both.
Neither side of the political spectrum in this country can or should be allowed unfettered access to restrict the information of any American citizen, and that is what we're talking about when we're talking about not having net neutrality.
Well, a lot of this stems from the classification of the internet as a sorry, the word is escaping me. The
utility.
Of a utility
yes.
or not. And I think we can all agree, just by that name or others, that it's essential to the way we live today. Whether you're a YouTuber or not, you still need the internet to do so many things today that it's almost indispensable. So just replace internet, a helpful metaphor is to replace internet with some other utility that you can't do without. Replace it with water. And imagine your water company being like, well, I'm going to charge you a different rate for your shower than your sink, than your bathtub, than your toilet.
Don't give any ideas.
Yeah. But if you want to do our base $5 a month plan, there's shit in your tap water.
Yes. Yeah, but think about a family that cannot afford to continue to pay further, more and more and more. And they've got kids, and the kids are being raised in a world, well, I mean, there's certain aspects of the internet that it's like, great, they probably shouldn't have access to it, but raised in a world where if that's not your language, you're not competitive in the marketplace.
Yep.
I mean, you're talking about, look, this sounds like hyperbole a little bit, but there are potential ramifications that go beyond you can't watch us on YouTube. Like, who cares? Your life's not going to suffer. We thank you for watching us.
Oh, yeah, a little bit.
But beyond that, people need to be able to have a competitive edge in the marketplace to get jobs. And you cannot make that prohibitive because it already is, but you can't make that further prohibitive because people have less money. Like, that's just another way that we are creating a world of inequity. Is my rant.
Yeah, it totally sucks.
And and
I like how you guys were like,
yeah,
you know, and again, you know, sort of, you know, in terms of our audience that, you know, loves YouTube creators and comedians or whatever, I know you've seen a rise, more and more personalities that you like doing things like Patreons. And I'm sure you support them. And it's not necessarily a good thing that all of a sudden all of these people that you love on shows that you love, you know, everybody you love on the Schmodown or whatever, they all have Patreon. So that's not necessarily good. That's because now they're having to do that because now they're running out of options and or losing income doing what they would typically need to do. And now they have to, you know, start a Patreon on the side so they can continue to sort of float. And things like the repeal of net neutrality will just make that worse. We'll just double down.
And this is, look, in certain cases, we're taking this to the worst possible result, but you have to do that a little bit, right? We're not saying this is necessarily going to happen, but the fact that it should be of some concern. But the good news is it's not totally over yet.
No.
This still has to go through Congress. You can still contact your congressman or woman and let them know how you feel.
This has gone through the court system before and has been found to be illegal in certain forms.
Yes.
This is something in the United States Congress that your senators and your representatives can override given certain procedures, but you have to make those procedures worth it. And there was a massive look at the if you don't know what to look at the companies that came out against net neutrality before this vote. Look at the number of people on the internet that spoke about net neutrality versus this vote. There was an outcry from so many people that said this is a terrible idea. Netflix this morning itself tweeted out, we stand behind it. I was just looking there. There are several states already today, including California, where we are, that are already actively suing the government over this. There's a lot of people that are going to say this is a political issue and that we're liberal hipsters in California and that we're, this is another anti-Trump thing. This is not what that is for me. This is vital to the protection of a resource that is in the public's interest, not Republicans or Democrats or independents or libertarians' interest. It is in the public's interest for this to remain free and accessible to everyone. The FCC heard people. The polling data is against this. People are not for this. The FCC took complaints. They ignored them. They voted against the commissioners that were on their own board. I encourage you to look up who's on the FCC, who voted for this, who they worked for, who is in favor of this, who is against this. Educate yourself on this, and then go online, just type in "find my representative" in Google while you still can for free. Type in "find my representative"
before you're using that Ask Jeeves free model.
There was a massive public outcry before the FCC vote. They didn't listen. It wasn't enough. They were not in a position where they couldn't not do this. We have to put our representatives, we have to put every single member of Congress in a position where they hear from us as constituents. And if you're overseas and this is not affecting you in the United States, find a friend that you know in the United States that doesn't know about this and tell them to do this. You have to contact your representatives, email them, call them. If you live near them, if you can go visit them, if you live in Washington, they have to have no choice but to protect this. This is not a political issue. This is a human rights issue. This is an issue about freedom of speech. This is an issue about not letting corporations regulate something that is in the public interest. It is vital. It is vital that this remain in place. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I can't top it.
No.
Do you want
to? Look. The government created the internet, not Al Gore, but the military in trying to make sure that we can all talk to each other in case of a nuclear explosion. So now it's on you, Johnny Fed. Don't F this up. Take the power back.
Yeah. Look, the worst thing that could happen, I think, is for information to be controlled. Right? Like that's the worst thing that could happen for any population.
From any ideology.
For any ideology. We just can't do that.
I know we get a lot of feedback on videos like this where they're like, oh, all doom and gloom. And it's like, come on, guys. So many companies that are in support of this repeal have already made statements like, oh, guys, we would never do that. We just want to be able to, just for funsies. But we never would. They will. Otherwise, why are they pushing so hard?
They're a business.
To remove net neutrality. Yeah.
It'd be like getting angry at a great white shark for eating a seal. It's not that they hate that seal. They're hungry, and that's how they survive. If a business sees an opportunity to make billions of dollars, they're going to do it.
Yeah. And I think Spencer said it so well that it's like, no one's outright going to be like, and now we're screwing you. It's going to be presented as, hey, man. For
extra. Get a little extra.
For $7.99. Yeah, exactly. It's... what'd you call it? The premium gamer fun package.
All of it starts with the premium gamer fun package. If we've learned anything, that's where it starts.
Put that in a Sarah Connor voiceover. It all started with the premium gamer fun package.
Then the Mountain Dew bot probed me, and I've never been the same.
Call, write, email, spread the word, do what you can.
Text resist bot. It's a nice one. Faxes your representatives for you. Real easy.
Battle for the Net is a site that does it, and there are a lot of there are a lot of sites that are liberal leaning that are going to be in favor of this. I promise you, there are a lot of politically agnostic sites that are just as in favor of this. Educate yourself. Do the research, and most importantly, take action, because nothing happens if people don't take action. They already did once with the FCC. It didn't work. We have to triple it. We have to 10 times the voice because, you know.
And
they're not scared of us. They think they can get away with it. Right. So let's
prove them wrong.
Convince them otherwise.
Yeah. Well, the representatives are beholden to the people.
Yeah. So that's.
I mean, in theory.
You have to make them be beholden to the people.
We
You
have
can't
to make
give them a
them
choice.
beholden.
You cannot give them a choice.
The deal is, if it doesn't go the way we want, then they have to get voted out of office. But that's a whole other process. Right now, just make that phone call. It's just a phone call. Super easy. Do it while you're in the car, hands-free.
Yeah, go check 5 Calls. Great website.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us today. Let us know what you think in the comments. And join us for Screen Junkies Universe tomorrow morning, for movie fights later today. While you can.